Stay tuned and let's build and review this Marvel Legends The Void Build-A-Figure. Ciao and welcome back to the channel, Dan Who Reviews. As always, my name is Dan W. Make sure you are following me on Instagram at It's Dan Who. And remember now you can hit that join button and become a channel member as well. Either show some love or join the members club. Much appreciated. Today we are at the end of yet another Marvel Legends wave, and technically it is the first wave of 2024. It is of course the Void Build-A-Figure wave, and in front of me we have all the separate Build-A-Figure pieces you need to build the Void Build-A-Figure. To do that you will need to buy 6 of the 7 figures in that wave that I have already reviewed on the channel right now. They are Squadron Supreme's Power Princess, Krista, Justice, Vision, Namorita, Savage Namor. You do not need to buy Black Panther, he has no Build-A-Figure piece, but you buy those other 6, you like me will be able to build the Void, which is a cosmic creepy space crab. To be honest, his history is quite complicated, but if you know anything about Sentry, you're probably well aware of the Void. So yeah, it's like translucent, thick plastic with this cosmic space crab. So he has got a body, so I should be able to do some of this on camera, but my attic is very cold, so all the pieces are like very stiff, so I don't want to break anything. But like the head goes on there, the legs will attach, the arms will go in there, and yeah, the back tentacle pieces are all uniquely shaped. Like, yeah, I need to do this off camera because it needs all heating up. So yeah, heat it up and I'll meet you back here right now. So a bit of behind the camera strength, and we have our Void built up. Sort of. Obviously, I've only attached the arms and the legs and the head, but I did want to show you the sort of base body offering before we attach on his massive tentacle pieces. So it is your standard sort of Marvel Legend with the double jointed elbows and knees. They do have pins on, which makes me think there is a bit of creative reuse here. I'm thinking the arms and legs are probably reused from somewhere else, but I can't quite pinpoint where from. Maybe a Venom, I'm not too sure, but it is done in a very unique, translucent, dark maroon, like blood red plastic, and as the light hits it, some points are more translucent than others, so it does create a very unique look on the shelf. The torso is obviously new, as you have all these crab pieces. So is the head. The head's on a dumbbell joint, but the rest moves as you would expect a Marvel Legend to. The shoulders go up, bicep swivel, double jointed elbows with the pins, double jointed knees with the pins. There is a thigh cut as well. You have the ankle rocker and the feet. The legs go out that far, they go forward about that far, and then even though he has all these crab legs on the sort of chest, you can still crunch him forward a little bit, back not so much. So the base offering does have your standard Marvel Legends articulation, no doubt, but these big thick tentacle pieces have no articulation at all. All of them have 2 big crab legs, so there'll be 6 in total. No, there'll be 8 in total. I can't count. There'll be 8 legs in total, and all of them have their own unique ports, so it's hard to get wrong, to be honest. So on the back, you get 2 long ports at the top and 2 stumpy ports at the bottom, so you'll be able to tell which way round these go. I thought I may as well show you the last leg going in. To be honest, they will only port into the right holes, so you absolutely can't get it wrong. So as you can see, it literally just ports into the back, and make sure you apply a bit of pressure so it will stay in there. And because the legs are here on the bottom, sort of, the bottom legs are attached, the stumpier legs are attached to the lower part of the torso, so the cut for the articulation is up here, so that's where you can still get some swivel, but it does mean, because they're so thick, it limits him leaning back. So now he actually can't lean back at all, where we know without the legs, there was some articulation there. So if I spin him around, that is the creepy crab we are getting. Now, the Void is a complicated character to explain, as I mentioned, and this is just one of his many forms, but he has fought the Avengers like this, so you can have him as an Avengers villain, but he is basically that evil alter ego of the Sentry. Or is he? Is he a dark entity? I don't really know. But yeah, so the crunch will go forward now, as you can see. So yeah, top 2 legs attached to the top part of the torso, bottom 2 legs attached to the bottom. So the swivel is up top. That's where it is. But again, it's all going to be limited now because none of those legs, those 8 legs, have any articulation. But it does create a very creepy silhouette. And he will stand, as you can see here, but those big, thick tentacles are just chunks of plastic, which do make him very off balance. So he's either going to lean back or lean forward. As you can see, there's a lot of plastic up top, and then he's standing on very skinny legs. So I do think this character in your display will benefit from a flight stand helping to hold some of that weight on the back. But he is standing on my table right now with no help at all, but the ankle pivot will either lean forward or back depending on the weight. So you've got to balance it just right, but he will hold the weight of the legs and the tentacles. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend it for a long-term display, that's for sure. Especially if you want to get him in a more dynamic pose. It's just going to be all off balance. But, as I said, he is very imposing. This is the type of character Amanda will hate I have in the house, as he is so creepy looking, and he is massive. All the way up to the top of the tentacles. He is just under 9 inches. Up to the top of his head is about 8 inches. So he would undoubtedly stand out on a display. But as I said, get yourself a flight stand. If you want to pose him up, you will need some support with the display. So the Void is somewhat of an evil alter ego of the Sentry, the total opposite. Amplified negative embodiment of all of his bad and evil aspects. No one really knows who came first, but those two characters are definitely forever entwined. The Void is like an evil, complicated, but very powerful villain that can attack and manipulate you both physically and mentally, as all of these tentacles, if they touch you, he can basically attack you inside of your own head. He has taken many forms, as he's more like an entity, and this cosmic space-looking crab is just one of them. But it's a very accurate rendition of a couple of comic panels anyway, in plastic, in Marvel Legends form, and another unique character to add to the shelf, as otherwise we have only had an interchangeable head, which we will compare shortly. But before we do, let's take a closer look. And I hesitate, as he has a face only a mother could love. Look how creepy looking that is. It's got some yellow plastic in the mouth as well that you can sort of see, 4 yellow eyes, and then these creepy crab legs that are not articulated. They're just done in a softer plastic, again, done in a translucent style. And because the head's on a dumbbell, you can get some creepy sort of tilted poses. You can look up, you can bury the chin, you can swivel very nicely. So yeah, great range of articulation on the head sculpt, very creepy looking. As I've mentioned, he's got like these crab legs on the torso, those 6 crab legs sticking out, some on the top, some on the bottom, and again just adds to the textures and the veins and the bumps all over this body. Like, look at the crab legs themselves. They've got all these tentacle pieces just sort of dangling off in random spots, even on this side as well. Each leg does seem to be unique. They don't seem to be a total opposite of each other. They seem to be unique, but it's really hard to show off all the detail on this figure. But it's done in like that translucent plastic that does have some wash in certain areas, so it's darker in some spots than others, but there does seem to be some sort of wash there. Again, darker in the torso, and then as you get down to the creepy toes, they're more light. And then at the tips of all these crab ends are quite light as well. Crab ends, what a weird word. But yeah, really hard to show off all the detail. But yeah, different colours in there, different sculpted elements, all these different tentacle pieces sticking out. Very creepy looking. And out of the box, he comes with a set of fisted hands, but we actually get a pair of open palm grabby hands, which are a nice touch actually and add to his creepiness. How many times am I going to say creepy in this review? I should have got myself a thesaurus before I started, but I don't know how else to explain it. He's very evil looking, undoubtedly a villain. And one little experiment before we move on. I'm going to bring one of my lights behind him and see how like translucent the plastic is. So here's a light, putting it behind him. And does that add to showing you some of the translucent elements? I'm trying to not knock him over, but it does show you which legs have more translucentness than some of it. So yeah, the middle of him definitely seems to be a lot darker in plastic, and then as you get to his edges, it's more translucent, but very nicely done. And remember, there's all these subtle pieces just sort of sticking off him that you catch in the light as well. So yeah, very nicely done. As I said, a very evil, sinister silhouette, which is very accurate to some comic panels that he represents. So They've done a pretty good job of putting a very awkward character design in plastic, I think at least. So first up, let's bring in Sentry, as these two are forever going to be entwined. Can the Void exist without Sentry? Was he there before Sentry? I don't think we ever really know. But yeah, this is a nice way to display him actually. You could display the Void behind the Sentry, sort of that creepy representation of his alter ego. But side by side, if I move them to the side, that is what you're looking at in regard of comparisons and whatnot. And we did have a Void interchangeable head with this new Sentry, which I actually put on the old Sentry body just so I could display that variety on the shelf. And this is like a part transforming Void to Sentry sort of face with the fire and the skull and the like, sort of face melting off. So we could try some head swaps. First up, I've put the Void head and his interchangeable hands onto the recent Marvel Legend of Sentry, and that's a pretty unique look. Now, I don't think this is an exactly accurate representation of him transforming or anything, but for your own shelf and your own display, if that's what you wanted to have, why not? I'm just showing you the options, but it definitely looks creepy. I said that word again. If I use that word again in this video, unsubscribe, honestly. I said it way too many times. There we have the sort of mounted transforming head on this new body. Again, not an accurate representation. I'm just showing you display options here. And one more time before we move on, here we have both of the Marvel Legends Sentry bodies, but obviously that Void head came with this Sentry figure next to the Void Build-A-Figure. Let's do a few more comparisons to get a sense of scale. So here we have another cosmic character with Thanos. Here we have another recent Marvel Legend Build-A-Figure with the Mindless one. And as you can see, the Void is bigger and more imposing. And I don't think these two characters have ever interacted, but just for a sense of scale, here we have the Marvel Legends Blob next to Void. Here we have Doctor Strange and Clea, and there was definitely a run in the comics involving Doctor Strange and Loki, where I think the Void sort of took over Doctor Strange's body for a little bit of time. So those two characters are connected in some way as well. Here we have the brand new Vision from this very same Void Build-A-Figure wave and Scarlet Witch. Here we have the brand new Black Widow and Thor has definitely come up against the Void at some point. As I said, he's sort of an Avengers villain, but it was a particular lineup. Cap and Iron Man were likely involved, so here we have the 20th Cap and the Mark 70 Iron Man, but as I've been doing, let's switch them out for the Ultimate Captain America and then the Extremis Iron Man armor. Here we have Power Princess. Again, I have reviewed her on the channel right now, and Hyperion. And I think that's enough for today. So let's wrap up with some of the Who crew. We have Frogman, Tigra, and Jocasta, who is reading out comments from the previous Marvel Legend review. Make sure you leave a comment on this video, and she may read yours on the next one. Who have you picked today?
Ian Feldman 5541 says, Sue lurking back there looking for a taste of Namor's savagery.
And then last but never least, here we have Captain Britain and Hal Fire Hank. So, final thoughts on this Marvel Legends The Void Build-A-Figure. Honestly, I think it's a pretty solid representation of a character that doesn't really have one particular look in the comics. Like, usually he's just a dark, shadowy entity fighting Sentry in his own mind, but he does occasionally appear, and yeah, this is a very particular look from a very particular story. So, it's a solid representation of that version of the Void, and I just like world building. I like adding new characters to my collection, and he is an undoubtedly imposing villain that will look very disgusting on my shelf. I'm trying to avoid a certain word here. But as always, you let me know what you think in the comments below. Is the Void a character you even wanted in your collection? If it was, is this a solid version of Void for your mind's eye? Always curious to hear your thoughts. Are you going to be tracking this one down? Let me know in the comments below. But if you like Marvel Legends, I know this for damn sure, you're in the right place. Check out the videos tab, find the playlist, but most importantly, please hit that subscribe button. Hit that all button on the notification bell. Don't miss out on the video. And please hit that join button. Become a channel member. If I show some love, or join the members club. Much appreciated. I think I'm going to do a recap and ranking for this wave as well. So stick around for that. Let me know your rankings in the comments below. And as always, follow me on Instagram. It's Dan Who. I'm on Twitter at Dan Who Reviews. Might be on TikTok. Maybe. And I will see you on the next one.